Not sure why the video cut off. So this is part 2 of the Purim video, so sometimes it's good to make a few short videos. Then people will at least watch one whole video. It's better for the advertising and so forth. What do you do if you, now hopefully, you know,
in a quarter mile, turn left onto Pennsylvania 739 South.
On Purim, I would say it's a good idea to drive in, to go hear the megillah, wherever there is, you know, there's lots of
turn left onto Pennsylvania 739 South.
And it's something worthwhile to drive in for, even you're going to drive very far. I'm not sure exactly what the requirement is, how far you really have to travel to hear the megillah. In the old days, the Talmud says that they would actually sometimes read it.
Continue on Pennsylvania 739 South for a half mile.
Who would not have access to the megillah, people who live in rural communities. And nowadays it's not the practice, you know, meaning people who anyway they're going to come into town for business on Monday or Thursday, that they would read the megillah for those folks on Mondays and Thursdays beforehand, and they would fulfill their obligation. We don't follow that practice today, but that would be the Ikra Din. But again, we don't follow that today, so you're not going to find anywhere that does it. So it's really a moot point. So then the question is, so where do we go from there? So again, you can
turn right onto the I-84 West ramp.
You hear the megillah in person, go travel to hear it. What if the synagogue...
in a quarter mile, merge onto I-84.
That's something I would, you know, if you want to know my opinion, you could ask me privately. I would say that goes by a case-by-case basis. What exactly goes on there. Meaning, let's say the only synagogue that's in your area is not orthoprax. I would say if it's orthodox in its doctrine, but not orthoprax in its practice, but the rabbi...
continue on I-84 for 3 miles.
Prax, at least to a certain extent, or whoever's reading the megillah is orthoprax, even if the synagogue itself is not orthoprax, but the ideology, the official ideology of the synagogue, not necessarily of all the members, is orthodox, meaning it follows basically the 13 principles of faith. That's what's generally accepted as the orthodox doctrine of Judaism today, even though you couldn't say it's a little bit more simple than that. You know, maybe you want to, like the Sefer Ikrim, bring it down to 3 basic dogmas or whatever it is. But as long as those basic dogmas of Judaism are accepted, I would say it's okay to attend to hear the megillah in such a place. Now, again, what if you don't have your... what are some other options? There are megillah readings online. Now, there's a difference between hearing a recording and...
in 2 miles, take exit 34 Pennsylvania 402 toward Blooming Grove, Porter's Lake.
A live reading. B'diavad, if you have no other option available to you, for whatever reason, whether you live in a very remote area, or you're stuck in the hospital, or whatever it is, and there's no one to come read for you, or other variables, this is an option to hear it online. I would suggest, while listening online, read along at least in a printed copy. If you know how to read, and this way you can answer Amen to the bracha that you hear that's being read live, and you're reading, you can't really make a bracha on a printed copy, but you will fulfill the mitzvah according to some opinions. Perhaps you could even say the bracha, perhaps you could say the bracha in English. If you know how to read Hebrew, you should read along. If you have a kosher megillah, and I would strongly suggest anybody who lives in a community where there is no synagogue, to buy your own kosher megillah. You can usually get
In a half mile, take exit 30 for Pennsylvania 402 toward Blooming Grove, Porter's Lake.
$600. It's a worthwhile investment. It's something that lasts for a long time. There are megillas that have been known to last even for hundreds of years and still be kosher.
Take exit 30, then turn left onto Pennsylvania 402 South.
Pick one up even for $400, or even sometimes, if you look on eBay, you might even be able to get one for about $200. And it's definitely a worthwhile investment if you're living in a remote area to have something like that available to you.
Turn left onto Pennsylvania 402 South.
You can also learn how to read the Megillah and do so for your community. There might be other Jewish folks in your area, and certainly for your family. It's very common in a lot of Haredi families, especially for younger families who have kids at home.
Continue on Pennsylvania 402 South for 25 miles.
Will go to synagogue and listen to the Megillah himself, then he'll come home and read it for his wife and children, because there's worry that the children might make too much problems at home. In a lot of communities, there's also a women's reading that the husband goes to synagogue and the wife stays home with the kids, and he'll bring the kids who are old enough to go with him, and then there'll be another reading where a man will read mostly just for women, and they will and then the husband will stay home with the kids. Really, again, Me'ikar Adin, according to the main halacha, a woman could read the Megillah for herself and for other women, and even theoretically for a man, although it could be a question of Kol Isha, even though that's not really an issue according to the main Ikar Hadin. However, the practice of the Ashkenazim is to refrain from such things, even for a woman to read for herself, if she is able to hear from a man. According to the Ashkenazic poskim, she should, if she is not sure she'll be able to hear from a man and she knows how to read herself, she could read herself. And then, if she has the opportunity to hear from a man, she should do so. According to the Sephardic opinion, that's unnecessary, and each one should follow their own minhag and their own poskim. Meaning, according to the Sephardic opinion, a woman could read for herself and for other women with no problem. But again, a lot of men, they'll read for their wives, or they'll have a separate, in some communities, a separate reading for women who are young and stay home with the kids. Older women usually will go when, who don't have small kids at home, or who don't have any kids at home, will usually go at the first reading, behind the Mechitza in the Orthodox synagogue. Again, there's different practices in different places. Some places will get babysitters for the small kids and so forth. Again, it's, if you don't have access to Megillah, read it in a printed copy, but that's difficult to say the bracha. Listen to it online live, but not to a recording. It should be a live reading, and that b'diavad could also fulfill the mitzvah. Now, if you have the kosher Megillah, you don't really know how to read, but you can follow along while listening to a reading. What you can do is listen to a recording and read it along with the, and say the words, repeat after the recording while looking at the actual handwritten Megillah. It's another possibility. So again, it's very good idea for anybody who lives in a rural or remote Jewish community, or not in a Jewish community, to have their own kosher Megillah, and they are available online. If you see one that you're not sure about, I'm happy to answer. If maybe you see one on eBay and you're not sure if you should buy it or not. But again, sometimes you'll see antique ones that are well over $1,000 or $2,000, which the price is because of their antique nature. And that, if you're just looking to fulfill a mitzvah, first of all, it might not last very long, so it's not really a good idea to get something like that for that purpose, because it's an antique. And you can get brand new kosher megillas for between $400 and $600, so there's no reason to spend more than $600 on a kosher megillah. Next question is, so there we have about the megillah. So you have different options how to fulfill it, but of course the best is to have it being read from a kosher megillah. However that is done, there's many different options. And if not, if you are hearing it online, don't listen to a previously recorded recording, but listen to a live recording. I know one friend of mine, very great Talmud Chacham, is going to be doing that. Now, if you have a synagogue in town, go to the synagogue in here, and you're able to go. But if not, another option. The whole night and the whole day are kosher to hear the megillah, and so these are options that are available. Next issue is Matanos Levionim, so we'll make that a separate video.